We turn now to campaign 2016 and the Trump phenomenon. Last week, Republican consultant and CBS News contributor Frank Luntz gathered 29 past and present Donald Trump supporters in Virginia to get their thoughts on the Republican frontrunner, including his controversial comments on Muslims.
Donald J. Trump is calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States.
Raise your hands if you agree with him. 14, 16, 17.
They don't want to become Americans. They want to come here and blow up America and kill us.
All Muslims?
Some.
Trump
We have no way of knowing.
All Muslims.
No.
Temporarily, we have no way of knowing who they are. Yes, we need a temporary halt. That's a very reasonable position.
We're legitimately afraid. And the president is not making us feel safer.
Yeah, he wants to yell at us about like gun control.
I think we're all scared. I'm actually a little jumpy, I find, and Trump is the only one who would come out and say something like this. No one else would do
And
it.
so you credit him with that.
I do. I mean, no one else would say it. Who would say it?
So you don't see, even in this room, this explosion of points of view that maybe he went too far in what he said?
Well, you know what Trump does? He says something completely crazy and inflammatory, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then he dials back and sort of starts explaining it and saying how he would do.
It creates the conversation,
And it makes
which I
sort
think
of
is good.
sense.
Trump is smart like a fox. He's in campaign mode. He has to be proactive. He's intentionally playing the media. He's saying things that are right on the edge. He's exaggerating. He's saying things that he knows the mainstream media will grab and throw a gasoline on, and it goes really big.
We're not believing everything he's saying. Nobody's. No, we're taking it for exactly what he just explained. He goes out and he makes a huge fuss to get everyone's attention, to get his issues addressed. We want someone to take a stance. We want someone to say, yes, okay, here's what we're gonna do.
Is it his persona, his tenacity, his raising of issues you care about?
His personality is just so large. I mean, he's out there, he's getting everyone to talk about stuff, just like the lady back here said.
He is entertaining. He's giving everyone something to talk about.
He looks presidential and he acts presidential.
You think he acts presidential. So when he said, and I quote, I would bomb the out of ISIS.
And this is when
He used the word
Good.
That's presidential?
Yes.
Americans think the country's in crisis. Trump is telling them the country's in crisis, and people flock to a strong leader when they think the country's in crisis.
Not people, you. Don't talk about people. You flock to Trump.
Yeah, I'm attracted to his persona
Because?
because of what's happening in the world. International affairs. He stands up there, he gives the image he's not going to put up with any crap.
You're an African American. Why do you support Trump?
Because he's saying stuff that needs to be said. When it comes to the general election, I think a significant number of African Americans will support Trump because of the entertainment fact that he has, that he, the persona, he's a businessman.
if Trump gets elected, he will have people that will coach him to ensure that these type of things aren't said out loud.
We've seen a lot of bad things that Trump has done. We've seen a lot of bad things that he's said. However, we've got a lot more problems in this country that I feel that he is more qualified to handle.
Socially, we are tired of political correctness. I think we're being burdened with it. I think it's making us weaker as a country globally. And I think that he represents that voice of that frustration, that political correct frustration.
Yeah, he makes mistakes. He's human. He says some things that are off color that I'm embarrassed by occasionally. But I still think he's a leader, and those prove that he's a leader.
I just think we need a complete shakeup. And I think he's the only one that can do it.
Here's a $64,000 question. With Marco Rubio as the Republican nominee and Trump running as an independent, who here votes for Trump? Raise your hands. Right now, the establishment Republicans just died.
Yes, they should. They haven't been listening to us.
Time for a real change.
It's just not going to
It's
come
a
to that,
real
Frank.
change.
That's more than half of you. Just raise your hands that you're going to leave the Republican Party.
Correct.
No,
We're
the party
voting for
has
a
left us.
person. I'm voting for a man or woman that wants to change his country.
I admit I'm stunned.
He said it.
They left us?
They left us. If they're not listening, I'm voting for the person, not I'm wanting, and he's still out of all of them. Rubio has the energy, but I think he has the energy and the actual means to happen.
we could take the people with. I think that there's enough of us out there who would go out who've never knocked on doors before ever.
Yeah,
And that would actually bring my Republican brother, hey, come on, let me talk to you.
The Republican
I've never
Party-
done that.
The Republican Party has failed us the last 2 times with weak candidates. First with McCain, who was weak, then with Romney, who was weak. We're tired of weak candidates. There is no number 2 to Trump. Who's number 2 in the Republican field to Trump that can really win the election? Who?
Trump is an independent. You're voting for Trump.
Yes, yes.
Trump is an independent.
Yeah, I'd vote for him over Rubio because maybe the party does need to be fractured. Maybe it's time to blow it up.
Then Hillary will be the president.
Blow it up.
And Frank Luntz joins us now from Las Vegas, where Republicans will be debating on Tuesday. So, Frank, sum that whole experience up for us. What's the big headline for you?
Well, the big headline for me is that political correctness is alive and well, and it is found in the Trump candidacy. 3 things. Number 1 is that these Trump voters are much more optimistic than any other Republicans because they believe that Donald Trump can actually turn back Barack Obama. Number 2 is that these voters were more salty in their language than any focus group I have ever moderated. They have taken the tone and the demeanor of their candidate, and they're proud of it. And number 3 is that if Donald Trump should decide to run as an independent, the Republican Party will be in deep, deep trouble. And by the way, I blame the leadership of the GOP because Donald Trump does his worst in the presidential debates. If there were more debates where other candidates were standing side by side with Donald Trump, he would not be in the position that he is today.
What struck me is that there have been a series of times in this cycle so far where political strategists and people in the press have looked at Donald Trump and said, well, this will be the time that he falls. What your focus group suggested was that no matter how many times you offered the audience an opportunity to leave Donald Trump, to dislike him, to find some other candidate they might like, they seemed to rally around him even more strongly.
You're right. They've discounted all the attacks. The flip-flops, well, he has the right to change his opinion. Attacking other Republicans, he's just being entertaining. Even his attacks on women or the comments he's made about women, they don't like it, but they find a way to justify it. The only thing that could hold Trump up is if it were to come out that there were employees that were mistreated or small businesses that were mistreated by Trump's companies. That would cause him a problem. All this other political stuff that you hear from the media and from his opponents, none of it sticks to him.
I want to play a little more from the focus groups because a lot of what motivates them that you discovered is an anger about President Obama. So let's listen.
And I want a word or phrase to describe Barack Obama.
Pathetic.
Great speaker.
Jellyfish marshmallow.
Annoying.
Delusional.
Naive. I just can't believe him.
Lost.
Good talker and tries hard.
Out of touch.
A politician.
Full of himself.
Clueless.
Ineffective. Elitist.
Doesn't respect American values.
Overwhelmingly cocky.
Anti-American.
Un-American.
Amateur.
Zero leadership.
Out of his depth.
Arrogant.
Still waiting on this hope and change.
Anti-American. Un-American. Barack Obama. Seriously?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Frank, that would suggest that obviously they don't like the president, but why couldn't any other Republican just grab onto that feeling? Why is Donald Trump particularly?
Because no other Republican is willing to say the things that Donald Trump says. I don't believe there would be a Trump candidacy if there wasn't an Obama presidency. And Trump's willingness to say things that we all would say go beyond the pale, that we would say is unacceptable in American politics, for these voters is exactly what they want to hear, and no other candidate is talking that way.
So it's not just that they dislike the president, but that Donald Trump is the opposite of the qualities they see in the president. Let me ask you about any other candidate in the Republican field. Was there any purchase for any other Republican candidate in that room?
The only one who seemed to have some interest was Ted Cruz. And obviously with the poll that you're about to talk about, that's significant. But for the most part, they're not looking at moving from Trump to another candidate. They're considering, do they follow Trump to an independent candidacy should Trump make that decision? And the language that I used, I about had a heart attack because I've been through this now for 25 years. And I've never seen voters so passionate and committed to a candidate after seeing an hour's worth of reasons why not to vote for him. John, this is significant. Trump is not going away, and more importantly, his voters aren't going away.
All right, Frank Luntz, thanks so much.
Thank you.